Hey, what's poppin', gamers? So, I saw the latest MCU flick recently. This one's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and yeah, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts. This one's directed by Sam Raimi. Of course, he's known for the Evil Dead trilogy as well as the OG Spider-Man movies, so based off that alone, I was really looking forward to this one. And I guess before I get into my thoughts, the gist of this movie is that there's this girl named America Chavez who has the powers of traveling to different multiverses. But this villain wants to, I guess, take all of her powers, which will kill her. So Doctor Strange and other sorcerers are kind of just trying to protect her. And after watching the movie, well, I think I enjoyed it overall. I ended up being a little more mixed on it than I was hoping. But I guess I'll just start by talking about my positives. For one, definitely the biggest selling point of this movie for me was Sam Raimi, and I think he really delivered on this one in the directing department. I think this was by far one of the most visually interesting movies in the MCU, if not the most visually interesting. There was a lot of, cool visuals, and I also thought the editing was surprisingly creative for an MCU movie too. And another thing is, I feel like Sam Raimi let a lot of his horror background seep into this movie, which was a really nice touch. And another thing too is that this is probably one of the more graphic movies in the MCU. I was kind of surprised by how much violence there was in this movie in a good way. It's probably the first MCU movie that feels like it's pushing the PG-13 rating. And one of the deaths in this movie felt like it could have been in a show like The Boys or Invincible, so I thought that was pretty neat. All the acting was pretty solid too, but I think to get into my negatives though, I'd be going into a few mild spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie then you'd probably want to give it a watch first, but I think the biggest flaw of this movie for me was just that the screenplay was pretty messy and the story didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't know, to me it kind of just felt like this was a first draft of a script that they went with, and there was a lot of stuff that really didn't work for me as far as the writing goes. For one, I feel like they didn't really handle the characters in a super great way. Like Doctor Strange was fine in the movie, but I feel like they didn't really go in a lot of interesting directions with his character. He does have a bit of a romance subplot, but I just felt like there wasn't really any strong chemistry there. And also, the new character, America Chavez, kind of just ended up feeling more like a MacGuffin. Wait, how do you pronounce that? MacGuffin than an actual fully fleshed out character. And I guess I should also talk about the main villain of this movie, which ended up being Wanda. I will say that I think Elizabeth Olsen probably had the strongest performance in the movie. I think she did a pretty great job for the material she had. But I don't know, I just feel like her motivation was kind of lacking and not super compelling. Basically, for the entire movie, she's just trying to see her kids, I guess. But I feel like they could have handled it better. And also, even with WandaVision, I feel like her becoming this monster just wasn't really fully developed. It felt like there were a lot of missing pieces to her just becoming completely evil. And I don't know, I wish it was just fleshed out a little bit more. And another problem for me is that I feel like this movie didn't really live up to its title of being a multiverse of madness. There really isn't that much of the movie that's dedicated to exploring like different multiverses. They kind of just stick to like a few universes and that's it. And I don't know, I kind of just wish that the concept of the multiverse was explored a little more in this movie. But maybe that's just me being a little unfair after seeing something like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I think just utilizes that concept to its fullest potential. But yeah, overall, I definitely had a fun time with this movie. mostly because of the Sam Raimi's involvement with the direction and the visuals and that kind of thing. But it is a very messy script, and I do think just the writing in general kind of brings it down a bit. But overall, though, I still enjoyed it for the most part, and I think I'd have to give it around a 3.5 out of 5. But yeah, that's just my opinion. As always, thanks for watching, and yeah, good night.